Good morning, Justice Warriors, Justice League. How are you guys? How's your weekend? How's my lighting? How's my hair? How's my shirt? That's always one of my biggest hurdles right there. So, not to burden you with my problems. Anyhow, yeah, it is Monday, October 16th. It's just after 10:18 to be exact. That's what the computer says anyway. I trust the computer. It's not always right, but I think it's right about the time, pretty much all the time. I'm just looking at the lighting and thinking I look a little bit green. Can you tell me, Mark, do I look a little bit green? Should I try something different or is it fine? Is it just me? Um, I don't want to be green. I don't want you guys to know that I'm truly an alien, right? So, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Mark and Bex. And you did an amazing live last night. I was really happy to catch that. Pin that message. Hey, blonde gypsy, what's happening? So I feel like we're ready to fly. We got Casey the cat. Good morning. Hope you guys are off to a wonderful day. So I've had my breakfast. I should not have any tummy rumblings. I don't think you guys heard when that happened last week. On Friday, towards the end of the morning live, I was like, oh, it's a good thing that I need to wrap it up because my stomach was just going nuts. Like I hadn't eaten anything. And I told you I just had a couple of eggs right before I started. So there was no need for that. It's not like I've been swimming for 2 hours a day, which I had been doing a lot a few months ago. But, I'm getting ready for that yoga thing. So there's some things I want to talk about. I titled this, and I always change the titles when I go back and edit. But I titled this one "The Trojan Horse," and I want to make sure I'm plugged in. What the heck is this? Oh, it's one of these stupid advertisements. Anyway, that's gone. I have my power cord. It's plugged in. I've had my coffee. I think we're set. Susan Dodge and Mrs. Amir Zaza, John Gross, Pixie Knickers. Hello, hello. So let's see. Is it John Cross? I'm so sorry. I said John Gross and I meant no yeah, it's John Cross. Sorry about that. I mean, I actually have a really good friend back in Washington State whose last name is Gross, and she's not gross at all. And then I know some folks in the state of Ohio with the last name Grody. They're not the least bit grody. So, you know, um, still on the walk with your doggo. That's awesome, Mark. So the Trojan horse, you guys, in the Kylie Rodney case, that fire cam footage, I believe, was like a Trojan horse. They sent that footage to select YouTube content creators. And I don't know if it was like under the guise that, like, you're the one we picked, but I think they sent it to many. And maybe they said that they were sending it to just their favorites or something. People with larger channels, higher profile. And not only did everybody fall for that freaking footage, but I believe that in opening that file that there were viruses released into these content creators' computers, and that they had to spend a lot of time and money to undo the havoc that was placed upon them with that Trojan horse. So I heard the best radio show in the world yesterday on National Public Radio. So the I think that it was titled something like how to not fall for scams and what to do when you do fall for scams. And it was so fascinating. I took a lot of notes, so I wanted to share with you. And I thought that it really applied to this. It applies to a lot of things. Um, I think that in the world, we're getting scammed all the time. I've told you guys when raising all 4 of my kids, I literally tried to teach them as young as possible to call out scams, just to know that everything is a scam. Rip off, that was the word I would teach them as soon as they could talk. I'd be like, "Okay, you need to say rip off because everything in this world is a rip off, and you need to be knowledgeable of this." Um, and I don't wanna go off on tangents, but I just wanna say that people don't understand the inflated prices of retail, the inflated prices of cars, the inflated prices of houses, the inflated prices of vacations. It's craziness. And you don't pay the sticker price. People that have money don't pay the sticker price. You negotiate. And they love those sticker prices. Same with insurance companies and hospital bills. They love that some people will just pay it without question, but most people don't have that kind of money, and most people will try to make payments for the rest of their lives. It's awful. But it's very distorted, and a lot of the elite get a lot of things for free, not just swag at, the Oscars, but, they don't have to pay for a lot of things that the rest of us do. So there were so many good things in this podcast that I was listening to. One of the things that I liked the most was, w- and I felt like this applied to me as a content creator on YouTube, but they were talking about, not that I'm an expert in anything, but they were talking about the best experts are ones who are humble, both about the knowledge that they know and also being humble about what you don't know, and that it's okay to say, I don't know. So, as some of you may know, I had a content creator like put me on blast about a year ago. I'd had my channel for all of 5 weeks. I had just started doing lives, and this person found it necessary to, um, I don't know if she was mocking me or what, because I didn't watch it back then. I started to, and I was just like, you know, doing somersaults in my head, and internally, I mean, physically, I was just like freaking out. And I just shut it down, and I kind of promised myself, I'm just not ever going to watch stuff like that. If people are talking smack about me, like, that's their right, and it's my right to not pay attention. But over the weekend, I did actually watch that very same video that I decided not to watch last year, and I'm so glad that I watched it. So glad that I went here also. So she started by showing a 15-minute clip of one of my lives, and it was about Kylie Rodney. And then she went on to talk about a bunch of stuff that had nothing to do with anything, and then critique me, and then try to call me out for being a phony mental health uh psychotherapist. She claimed that I must have Googled everything to figure out what to say to sell myself as a mental health professional on YouTube. And I was just laughing, and I'm still laughing. And I was really kind of wrestling with myself if I even wanted to put time and energy into talking about it with you guys. But I love, just like I always say, I love shooting from the hip and just being really spontaneous with you and telling you what's on my mind, because if I don't, like, what else do I have to talk about? A whole bunch of word salad or something? So this content creator had even shown up in my live chats a couple months ago, and I was sort of horrified. But at the same time, I thought, you know what? Bygones are bygones. We all do things that, maybe we could have done better, for sure. And I didn't make a big deal about it. But having seen the 15 minutes of my video that she put in there, I'm actually really proud of it. I'd been doing my channel for 5 weeks, and I said a lot of the same things that I've been saying consistently for the last 12 months and that I was saying last week and that I'm sure I'll say this week. Basically about Scammy and Lindsay and their freaking makeout presser, which is what I decided I'd start calling it. Um, anyway, you know, every challenge is an opportunity and every challenge presents a gift. And I always like to look on the bright side of everything and learn from everything. So, in a sense, I appreciate that this person did that. In another sense, I think that it's insane. I think it's hilarious that she thought she could call me a Google wannabe. I'm so candid with the fact that I Google pretty much everything, but I also am very candid that I don't trust Google, that I think half of what Google says is complete and utter BS. So for anybody who'd be trying to Google how to sound like a mental health expert while making a YouTube video, I wouldn't trust that Google would set you on the right path with that. And I am proud to say that I have, and I never say never, I'm proud to say that I have never shared anything about myself personally or professionally that has not been 100% true and accurate to the best of my knowledge. I just would never do that. That's ridiculous. I don't want to lie to myself. I don't want to lie to anybody else. And anyway, my whole point in discussing this with you, and thanks for listening, is that I believe that this content creator was accusing me of exactly what they're doing. And I believed from jump that they were not what they said they were. I was just like, this person's insane. Like, this person reminds me of Kids in the Hall video that I'll try to find and put a link to in the description. And it's a couple of, the Kids in the Hall are five guys, but they dress in drag when they want to do female characters. So it's a couple of females that are wearing wigs and bathrobes and slippers, and they've escaped from a psychiatric facility. And it's really funny. So that's what this content creator reminds me of. And, I'm just going to be brutally honest about it because they have it coming. Anyway, I like to stay positive. Like I said, I like to see these situations as opportunities for growth, and I'm very forgiving. I don't know if they have an apology in them or if they feel the need to apologize. Whether they do or don't is none of my business. I just don't even care. But what I do care about is staying positive and keeping it real with you guys. Hey, Annie Ruler. Um, Jazz, we feel in our hearts who you are. We know you. Oh, you are too sweet. I mean, how do we know anything on the freaking internet? Or how do we know anything in real life? I mean, there's all kinds of scams and lies. And yeah, you just got to do your best. Does this content creator's name start with, I don't know? Oh, no, no, no. I think I know who you're talking about, and full blown cray cray, but I think this one is just as cray cray. Um, Across the pond. I'm just going to leave it at that. I put the first name in the chat at the very end because I thought someone was asking, and I was just like, I'll just stick it there. Nobody will see it. But um yeah, I don't think that they are in the profession. And I mean, it was just laughable. So much of what they said about me last year in this video that, they put my name in their title. And really, really laughable. Like, saying that I'm a phony, that I'm, you know, pretending to be something I'm not. But that I was also unprofessional. Like, as a mental health professional, it was unprofessional for me to say the things that I was saying. But wait, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm fake. You gotta pick which one you're gonna go with. Anyway, sometimes I make mistakes and, I'll tell you the wrong age of one of my children, which I'll tell you the wrong age of me sometimes, and I laugh it off, but I'm sure somebody could say, "Oh, well, she must be lying then." I've got 4 kids right now, today, to the best of my knowledge. They're 21, 19, 16, and 11. And I gave birth to all 4 of them with the same baby daddy. We've been together for 33 years, 33 years. So we've been married for 31 years. We met in college. And I've put a couple pictures up of them, and you can see those on my community tab. I put up a really cute one last night of the oldest and the youngest from a Halloween photo that just, came on my phone, the way they do with the memories. And I was like, oh man, that is so flippin' cute. So I shared that last night. Anyway, I love sharing with you guys. I wish I could share everything, but it's freaking YouTube. So of course I can't do that. But let's see. Um the thing I really want to get focused on that's so positive is our dear friend Miss Ara, who is dealing with a similar pile of junk at the end of last week. One, her her kids and her won their band performance competition this weekend. Yay, Ara! And I asked her if I could talk about it on my channel today. And she said yes. So I don't want to say too much about her and that because, that's for her to do. But she came into your chat last night, Mark Molina, and she didn't say anything about it. And I wanted to ask her, but not in front of people in the chat. So I didn't want to ask her if I could talk about it in the chat last night because that would have been talking about it. Anyway, I was granted permission. I'm not surprised. That woman gives so much of her true humble self to all of us. And I love that she shares the little lives of her doing her what do you call it? Conducting. And that's some serious stuff. The band performance competitions, especially in Texas, I would think, even more so than anywhere else. And, I live in Ohio where OSU, they've got that going on. And they kind of set the bar for a lot of the high schools that try to be of that same caliber. And I'm sure that Ara is at the top of that caliber. So, congratulations to Ara. And now hopefully we get her back in the true crime community because she does such great work here. And she's just one of these people that, wears her heart on her sleeve. And she had a rough time last week with getting blasted. And that stuff was crazy, ridiculous. So I'm going to quit talking about it. I'm going to read some of your lovely comments because I've been missing most of them. Yeah, the insurance declined rehab at first when we could feed myself or walk. Um, Okay, I missed a whole bunch. Wildjazzz, I didn't know that about the virus. Well, 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 that just says everything. Trojan horse, you guys, the Trojan horse. We all know that story of, uh, oh, I might get some of the facts wrong, but it's like the people of Greece were in the horse, and then some people stole the horse, and by stealing the horse, they basically opened a can of whoop ass on themselves because it was full of soldiers that jumped out and killed everybody, right? So that's the Trojan horse. Um, just the Cliff Notes version. Remember when I started my channel and like I thought that was my angle? I'm just going to be the Cliff Notes version of all of the stuff that I watch. And I feel like I've kind of kept with that. I mean, I have a lot of my own ideas, of course, we all do, but I try really hard to not ever uh, use someone else's idea without kicking them credit. And I got to tell you guys, crime crochet, my hyper focus, hey girlfriend. I got to tell you guys that I see other content creators take my ideas and not give me credit. And I just want to say F you to all of them because why would you do that? I mean, again, I try to look at the positive and like, well, at least they like my idea, but it'd be nice to get a shout out once in a while. Um, I'm nobody's fool. I know that all of you guys out here in YouTube land are nobody's fool, but we can all be tricked so easily. And if somebody tells us that it's their idea, we're going to believe them. So I think it's really uncool to do that. I try to never do that. I've never said something was my own idea if I knew that I got it from somewhere else. And there can be situations, of course, where people come up with the same idea simultaneously and it originates within themselves and they're being forthright, and that's fine. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt too. But there's so much bullying that goes on the streets of YouTube. And I felt like that's what that crap was last year with me. And I feel like that's what that crap was with Ara. The antagonizing and the bullying go hand in hand. And some of that could be just trolls that are set out, set loose on the streets of YouTube to get us off track, to get us to talk about them, to get us to defend ourselves or whatever, or just to get us to like curl up and go away. And I think that that's a lot of what trolls do. I came up with a cute little phrase last week. I think I used it in my title for my second live on Friday. The trolls with a purpose. Like those are the ones that are like, Barry Morphew's army or, the Truckee Mafia. Um, so we all think that we can spot scams, and that is on this podcast that I listened to on NPR yesterday. That is what they said one of our weaknesses is. That makes us an even better target for scammers when we think that we have the ability to spot a scam, because I can tell you quite frankly that we don't. I don't. I mean, I buy into all kinds of stupid stuff all the time, like every day. And I love the way they said this, because we have to trust people. If we didn't trust people, everything in our social life would be non-functional and we'd never leave the house. We'd never talk to people because we'd assume that people are lying to us all the time, right? What happened with Ara? I'm so out of it lately. I didn't want to go into it. Like, let's let Ara talk about it. Watch Shan's uh I want to say second or third to last live. I think it's the third to last live. I'll put a link to it in my description. I just don't want to be, outing anything for Ara. That that's her thing. She said that I could talk about her win with the competition, and I just wanted to leave it at that. Anyway, oh, this is awesome. This is from that NPR special from yesterday. When you were thinking about anything and you're thinking about the evidence that you have to support the idea that you have to know that something is true, think more about the evidence that you don't have than the evidence that you have. Does that sound so brilliant? Because it is. And applying that to Kylie Rodney's case, think about her cell phone. Think about the black box for her vehicle, because I'm pretty sure there's a black box for that vehicle. Um, just those two things. Think about the evidence you don't have. In fact, we've never seen cell phone activity from anybody's phone in Kylie Rodney's case, have we? I don't think any of that's been public. But if they're pretending there's no cell phone, if they're pretending there's no black box, that's good information too. People tell you more than they intend to with the things that they don't say. The silence screams. And whatever happened to the cell phone, people need to know. And I'm sure that law enforcement does know. If they don't have the cell phone, I'm sure they know exactly what happened to it. I mean, it could have gotten smashed. Remember in the Watts case, NK took the SIM card out of her phone and destroyed it. Like, how is she not held liable and accountable for destruction of evidence in a quadruple homicide? She took the SIM card out and smashed it. Oh, because he lied to her and she was upset. Like, give me an effing break. Anyway, um, yeah. The distortion of accurate information. Sometimes information is distorted unintentionally, sometimes it's distorted intentionally. But it's up to us to trust ourselves and what we think sounds plausible. Truth is always stranger than fiction. A lot of times, the actual truth is much more bizarre sounding than the crazy stories that are concocted. Don't you think? Mark doesn't trust anything. I'm glad. No, I'm just kidding. Who here didn't love the X-Files? And that was like one of their slogans at the very beginning was trust no one. Um, so yeah, Ara is on her game and she'll be able to do more content now that she's done with that whole competition. Um, so let's see, was there anything else I wanted to talk about with the Trojan horse? Yes, 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 yes. Um, oh, there's so much. So not only the fire cam from the Kylie Rodney case, but also the surveillance camera from the Linda Lane case, from the Idaho 4 case, that Linda Lane footage. Sorry, my brain got all jumbled there for a second. That Linda Lane footage, I think I don't think it had a virus attached to it that I know of, but I do know that it was sent to people like Sleuthy Goosey, and she was told that she was the only one that had it. And it was kind of a test to see what she would do with it, because that's what creeps like that do. They like to trick you. So she didn't really fall for their tricks, and I don't think she did anything with it. And they had asked her and begged her not to do anything with it. But I think that that's part of the test, was to see if she would just go ahead, turn around and release it, or if she would tell people about it, then they would know if some other channel that she had told about it released it, they would know that she had given it to them if she really was the only person that she gave it to. So, when you're involved with scumbags like that, something to think about is that they will feed you information to see where it goes. So, like, for instance, maybe to see if it ends up on the 5 o'clock news, if it's a high profile situation. Um, let's see. Typical magic tricks. So, what they do, they being these evil rat bastards in these cases, they do these big magic tricks. They distract you to look over here so you don't see the little thing that they're doing over here, which is where the magic happens, right? And that's what I feel like all the hoopla with, say, the fire cam footage in the Kylie Rodney case, all the hoopla with the Linda Lane footage in the Idaho 4 case, huge distractions so that we don't look at the most basic things. And we get all carried away with what's this and what's that and all the minutia, while in the background they're doing things like not taking the vehicles out of the parking lot at the Idaho 4 1122 King Road. residents not removing those vehicles for weeks and then removing them all the way down the street to the president of the university's driveway, like that. um, yeah. Or like with the Kylie Rodney case, and like I had said on Friday, we still don't even know if she actually went to the gym or not on that Friday when her mother said that in texts she said she was going to go to the gym that day. Um, we don't know if she was harmed before that day. I think that there's a lot of indicators pointing to that perhaps she was, but where's the freaking timeline? Where is the freaking timeline? When you have a missing person, you nail down like what they did in their last known minutes and hours and days. You nail it down and you make it public because that's how you're going to find them. And you talk to everybody that had contact with them, that saw them, that talked to them, that texted with them. And the fact that that's never been done with the timeline in the Kylie Rodney case tells me that the whole freaking thing was a sham. The whole missing person crap was an absolute sham, in my opinion. For her biological mother to not completely flip out about no Amber Alert. I want to bring up the oh, what is her name? Is it Holly Bobo? The 21-year-old that was unalived in Tennessee. I think it's Holly Bobo. Um, you guys can Google it, or maybe I'll Google it real quick just to make sure I'm getting her name right. Um, she was 21 when she went missing, and her mother lied and said she was 17 so that she could get an Amber Alert. Um, And I mean, that was the saddest case in the world. It took 4 years to get a conviction. Yeah, that's who it is, Holly Bobo. Um, so she disappeared on April 13th, 2011 from her family home. This is on Wikipedia. I'll just read it to you real quick in case you don't know. Um, Her family home in Darden, Tennessee. She was last seen alive by her brother, Clint, shortly before 8 a.m., walking into the woods outside of her home with a man wearing camouflage. In September of 2014, Bobo's partial remains were found in northern Decatur County. Her death was ruled a homicide via gunshot to the back of her head. And it's interesting too. I'm not going to read any more of that, but I paid attention to the trial, and one of the co-conspirators flipped and told the truth on the stand. And it's just a chilling story. The mother was so freaked out during the trial that she actually passed out, and they had to get like 911 there to help her out. And I don't blame her. That's how a real parent would act. I mean, when we compare people like that to Kylie Rodney's biological mom, that speaks volumes. But Holly Bobo was not quite extinguished when they thought she was. So they had done all these horrible things to her. They thought that she was expired, and they rolled her up in a blanket, I think, or sleeping bag, something like that. And they were trying to dispose of her. And then she like an hour later, when they arrived to the place where they were going to dispose of her, I think she moved her toes and she moaned, and they freaked out. And that's when they shot her. And they were going to dispose of her in this river where they did dispose of her, but they were already there at the point where they were going to dispose of her, thinking she was already done. And when they realized she wasn't, they pulled out a gun and shot her. And that shotgun explosion echoed all up and down the river. So there were people that heard it. Um, it still took a long time to get a conviction on her. Um, Terrible, terrible Here, 6 men. I am going to read a little bit more of it. 6 men have been arrested for varying degrees of involvement in the murder. However, only 3 of the 6 have been prosecuted. One of them offed himself, allegedly. Most of the arrests were made on the basis of a confession by a man with an intellectual disability named John Dylan Adams, who told police he saw his brother Zach and another friend, Jason Autry, that was the one who testified on the stand, with Bobo at his brother's home after her kidnapping. It is unknown what led police to question Dylan about Bobo's disappearance. Dylan, Zach, and Autry were charged with especially aggravated kidnapping, first degree red rum, and SA. Of the other 3 men arrested, charges against 2 were dropped, and one committed offed himself without any charges being filed against him. The case has been met with several setbacks, such as the death of a suspect, multiple changes to the prosecutorial team, and disputes with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. This goes on and on. The prosecution has been heavily criticized for its refusal to produce evidence against the defendants, missing multiple discovery deadlines, for making frequent changes to the charges against the defendants. How far does this go on? Oh, not that far. Should I finish it up real quick? Um, Sorry, I'm missing so much of your comments here. Um, Hate true crime. I can't read that, Mark. What are you trying to say? Let's see. Inhumane acts. Hate true crime and inhumane acts. And I would be beside myself if any one of my children went missing. Oh yeah, totally. Oh no, you're fine, Mark. You're fine. Um, so let me just finish this up real quick because I thought that everybody had been convicted, but maybe it was just the guy, the main one. Um, where was I? Missing multiple discovery deadlines and for making frequent changes to the charges against the defendants with little explanation. The TBI even briefly withdrew its services to the entire district after the prosecutor accused the agency of compromising the case by proceeding so slowly that the culprits were always one step ahead and that TBI was leaking information and possibly covering up evidence. Defense attorneys reported they still had yet to receive a bill of particulars detailing the case against their clients and the results of forensic testing done on evidence from the case over a year after the arrests were made, and filed motions to dismiss charges on the grounds of silence or stonewalling. The arrests took place in early 2014, but it was not until July 2015 that it was announced that the defendants finally received access to all the evidence against them. On September 22nd, 2017, a jury found Zach guilty on all charges, including first degree red rum. He was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 50 years on September 23rd. He maintains his innocence. In January 2018, Zach's brother Dylan accepted an Alford plea and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Autry chose to make a plea bargain with the prosecutors wherein he would testify against Zach in exchange for a significantly reduced sentence. On September 16th, 2020, after accepting a deal that reduced his sentence to 8 years of time served, Autry was released from Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville. I'm actually happy to hear that because he did the right thing in the end. And, you don't expect people that are involved in something like that to do the right thing. But he did, and that was what allowed justice um, to unfold. So, yeah, that is a really, really interesting case, Holly Bobo. So, so sad. Another interesting case that's coming back because a trial is upcoming, and True Crime Rocket Science is so far ahead of the game with this case. He always has been. Um, and that's the case of Mo Wilson in Austin, Texas. You guys are probably familiar with that. Um, Caitlin Armstrong shot her because they were both dating the same douchebag, Colin Strickland. Ah, so I'll probably be covering that case. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to stay focused. Um, so, Nana Psychoville, hello. And like I said, sorry that I've missed so much of your comments here. Deep thoughts coming in late as usual. Better late than never. So let's look at the Ponzi schemes because that's something that's easy to fall for too. Um, that is, I was unaware that the Ponzi scheme dated back to like 1920. And, that's the whole thing with taking people's money and then getting more people to invest so that you can give the original investors dividends and then make it look like, well, they did really well. So they'll send their friends to you to give you their money, and then you can give the next row of people their dividends. And in the meantime, it's just a shell game and a Ponzi scheme. So that's an old classic. And I guess allegedly that's what the whole Bitcoin thing is. That's what, all this digital fake money, monopoly money, I like to call it. It's some type of Ponzi scheme. I don't know. I don't understand the whole Bitcoin crap, but I think it's just crazy that anybody falls for it. Thanks for dropping Mark's link, True Crime and Crochet, and thank you for dropping your link as well. So you guys, True Crime and Crochet did the most phenomenal rainbow unicorn video of Sammy Smith's an excerpt of her interview with Tony Dodge. If you haven't seen that, again, I'm going to put a link to it in the description here. It is so freaking awesome. I can't believe that thing hasn't gone viral and gotten 20,000 views. The last time I checked, it still only had a few hundred. And I was just like, people don't know what they're missing. Um, thanks for the check. It's in the mail. So yeah, you've got to watch the Sammy Rainbow Unicorn. One of the things that's so brilliant about it, other than just being cute and funny, is that in watching like kind of the deadpan expressions on the unicorn, it really helps me to unpack more of the hogwash coming out of her mouth. And I don't know if that was your intention or if that was unintended, but it's brilliant. It's sort of like watching something slowed down or sped up. You see things that you wouldn't see otherwise. So um, it's just the bomb. It's it's a work of art. It's a masterpiece. True, well done, Mark says, and Mark knows. Mark's a pro. He's an expert. Um, So emotion and memory and our what we're focusing our attention on is has everything to do with how we remember things. This is why our memories are so inaccurate because we're basically putting like a collage together of our feelings, our memories, and the things that we focus on. So it's really easy to have what experts might call false memory syndrome. You just can't rely on memory. This is why um, detectives like hard evidence of things like texts or video footage. Um, Even when we're trying to be as honest and forthright as possible, we have emotions and we have some things that we focus on and other things that we don't. So we're going to remember it the way we see it, very much from uh, a skewed perspective. So that was something that they talked about again in this NPR special that I just thought was so freaking phenomenal. Um, and just people not wanting to be rude or insulting. So, that has a lot to do with everything. I like to play nice, especially with other content creators for my own benefit as well as everybody else's. Um, I just think that it's really beneficial to not be rude and to not be insulting. But in general, even when somebody is being questionable, acting in a questionable manner, it's just kind of what most people do is to try to not be rude and to not be insulting. And in doing that, sometimes we miss an opportunity to find out what's really going on. So, I guess the point of discussing that is that it's okay sometimes to risk being rude or risk being insulting. I think, especially if you like couch it and phrase it well and say, well, I'm sorry to ask you this. I don't mean to be rude or insulting, but can you tell me more about this, that, or the other thing? It's just good to ask questions. And if people are going to act like you're being rude or insulting to ask questions, then they probably have something to hide. Um, and let's see. I wanted to talk about Kylie being a child prodigy because I think she was. I think she was very gifted. And I think that that had a lot to do with uh, folks being jealous of her. It probably had a lot to do with why she wanted to graduate high school early and get the F out of there. Um, I have so many questions about her case, and I was going to look up. I was in your. See, this is what's so cool about all of us doing our chats and our lives and being in each other's. Last night in Mark's live, I asked if anybody knew what the temperature dropped to that night in Truckee because I think it was in the 80s during the day, August 6th of 2022. And my guess is that up there in the Sierra Nevada mountains, that even in the summertime when it's 80 degrees during the day, that it could probably drop to like 40, 42 at night. And people had reported that Kylie Rodney at that party, which, it's very questionable if that's accurate or not. Probably not, in my opinion. People reported that she was wearing that black spaghetti strap tank top or bodysuit or whatever it was. But then, even the police said that they had a videotape of her wearing the Odd Future hoodie. So was that a lie? I think that was Sam Brown who reported that they got a videotape of her wearing the Odd Future hoodie that night. Um, so if anybody remembers, if anybody has that footage, yeah, that would be awesome. But this was my thought process is that if she was wearing a black tank and then all this crap happened to her and she was beat up and um, whatever else, that she could have become hypothermic, that it looked like it was really cold that night. All those kids in that one photograph where they're all lined up, and I used that as a thumbnail last week or the week before and put an arrow towards the one uh, that had no sleeves and looked like she was really cold like that. And, I still think that that could be Kate. And then the one wearing the black jeans and the black hoodie that Sammy said, "That one's Kylie." And we all remember that, right? When she said, "That one's Kylie," right there. Okay? We can't forget that because anyway, if she was hypothermic, that could have even led to her expiring. Um, and I had this crazy thought yesterday that maybe her expiring was accidental. I don't believe that it was, but this was just an idea that I had, as so many people have been rehashing the case lately. and that maybe she was being beat up and all this stuff, that was all planned to teach her a lesson, and potentially even worse, abuse against her person. Um, and that maybe she was um, drugged and assaulted, and they didn't want her to have any memory of it. And so they made this crazy traumatic situation where they got her in vehicle into the water with her in it, thinking that she could escape. I know there's been other people that have thrown that theory out there, and that she couldn't escape because she had hypothermia if she was just wearing a tank top or less. I mean, that whole thing with that freaking bodysuit that was found between Boca and Prosser. And that was in your chat that we were talking about that recently, right, Mark? Um, anyway, this is just like a hodgepodge, a conglomeration of all these ideas that have been swimming around for the last 12 months. You know, I don't know what happened to Kylie. I don't think any of us know what happened to Kylie. I think that we've gotten closer and closer to the truth. I think that the questionable character and behavior of her biological mother, and of Scammy the Snake, and even of her ex-boyfriend, Mags and Kate Cunio. I think all of these people are involved. Uh, I really honestly think that all of those people that I just named are directly involved in her losing her life. Or again, I'm not 100% convinced that she did expire. I'm about 99% convinced that she expired. Um, that maybe she got shipped off to Bohemian Grove or some crap like that. Anyway, Phantasmic Ether, man, it's been a while. So all of these videos and photos, but only that dodgy CCTV screenshot made public. Oh, I know. That whole thing is just nuts. Um, yeah. And we may never know. We may never know, but you know, in the meantime, we're going to keep saying her name. We're going to keep honoring Kylie. Um, why both parents are cool with the lies. That's, you know, I don't think that her father or grandfather did anything wrong in her case. That's my opinion. But I understand people questioning that, Mark. And if what I think is true and accurate, then they have very good reason to keep their mouths shut, because essentially, I mean, we say it kind of tongue in cheek, but I think it's in all seriousness. It's the freaking truckee mafia. And, you know, they live there. And even if they didn't live there, they'd still need to keep a low profile. That's my opinion. Have you seen CNY's video about Deathbed Confession from someone about Kylie's unaliving? Maybe you have already covered. So I haven't covered it much, Phantasmic Ether. Mark was covering it last night, and I just want you to know, Mark, that I was hesitant to bring it up because I like to be super polite to all content creators, even if I completely disagree with their content. Because that's a good thing to have different people with different views, in my opinion. And I have a lot of respect for CNY. I don't believe a damn thing about the deathbed confession, and I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't a deathbed confession. Like, a deathbed confession is when you're confessing to something that you did, that you had direct involvement with. And this was like somebody who allegedly felt bad because they knew stuff just from living in that town. And so they were telling somebody their deathbed confession about what they knew, kind of from a removed place. And then that person that they told the deathbed confession to allegedly contacted CNY and said, don't tell anybody my name, but I'm going to tell you all this stuff. And then she put out the video where it's pretty much a blank screen. It's got like the little icon, not just one, but two or three. And then she did a live on it. I watched the videos, like they were like 5 minutes and 7 minutes and 7 minutes, I think. I haven't watched the live, but I don't believe the story. I don't know if somebody did contact her and tell her all this. That's quite possible. It reminds me a lot of when Squirrel Girl had her interview with Nick G, and she presented it in a similar fashion. And I believed Squirrel Girl 100% through and through. But the way the information had come from him to her to YouTube, the fact that he was down with that made me question him. Like, that was the first time I started to doubt him. Like, I fully bought into his crap, hook, line, and sinker from jump. And that weird, telephone game through the grapevine way of getting that information out to the public, um, just made me think he's full of it. Like, why would, yeah. Uh, so, so it's really hard for me to think that any content creator that's contacted by a community member or family member, um, or that sent a video of some quote unquote evidence, I think that the content creator is being uh, had and getting sucker punched as much as the rest of us are. So I don't know with the situation with CNY, and I um, don't want to say anything derogatory. I don't have any faith in the deathbed confession because of the way I define deathbed confession. So thanks for asking. And yeah, that's totally fine. When you move away and shout and honor your daughter by the truth, why would you move away and shout and honor your daughter by the truth? Um, yeah. Overreactive me. No, Mark, you're fine. You're 100% fine. And it's your show. So when I'm in the chat on your show, I'm going to allow you to call those shots 100%. Um, and you handled it just fine. You were maybe being overly polite, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, oh, Phantasmic Ether actually thought the same thing. Well, yeah, and I haven't Googled deathbed confession, but we could do that right here, right now, real quick, just for fun, right? Since, I mean, that's where I started this video, was the accusation that I Googled everything I know about my fake mental health profession. I love that. I just love that. So let's see. I'm literally Googling deathbed confession if you guys haven't already. And it's going to be hilarious, I think, because I wanted to do this last night. A deathbed confession is an admittance or confession made by a person nearing death or on their quote unquote deathbed. This confession may help alleviate any guilt, regrets, secrets, or sins the dying person may have had in their life. So, yeah, like regrets, guilt, secrets, or sins. And that alleged deathbed confession is alleged that they felt so much guilt for not speaking up. That's just weird. Um, so, and there's, how it always has the questions. Is a deathbed confession legal? A deathbed confession can be admissible evidence in court under certain circumstances. If someone confesses knowledge of a crime and then dies, or their condition worsens, the law does not consider the statement to be hearsay, and it can be used in a criminal trial. Very interesting, huh? I'm glad I looked that up. Are bed's confessions real? If you're dying and you're more concerned with your own family and loved ones, since she did not do anything, why would she say anything? Right. And maybe I didn't think she's seen my comment before, so I said it again. I swear it's her. Um, oh, so let me see. Is this I think Kylie's mother was the winner of Howard Stern's Butt Face, I believe in 2004. Looks like her. Check it out. No shade. I just thought she looked familiar, and yes, that is why. I had heard that. I don't know if I had heard that from you or somewhere else. So hello, Sunflower Dragon. She won a big check, and it was in Vegas. If not, she's got a twin. Well, we all have a doppelganger, right? I mean, seriously, no shade. I've just always been like, who is that lady? And boom, Howard Stern, Mrs. Butterface, 2004. Yeah, we'll have to look that up. It's literally hearsay or Chinese whispers at this point. Yeah. Yeah. And, um, there's been a lot of resurgence in the Kylie Rodney case. I think ever since the anniversary, maybe, but I'm glad. I'm glad that people are talking about her case, whatever it is that they're saying. Just keep talking about Kylie Rodney. Um, oh, Phantasmic Ether says definitely not her. Did you just Google it? Also, if on deathbed, wouldn't they probably be full of morphine or something like that? That's a really good point. Yeah, my mom was on her deathbed a year and a half ago, and I mean, it was just all about love, you know, all about love. That one doesn't have horns. One sec. I'm still finishing my coffee. It's like ice cold, but it still has caffeine, so I think I should go ahead and finish it. Um, so let's talk about Idaho 4 for a second. I really want to know what fraternities Brett Payne and his brother Kyle Payne might have been affiliated with or members of while at the University of Idaho. If anybody knows or can look that up, the Payne brothers both went to the University of Idaho. Kyle Payne went there straight out of high school from 2005 until 2009, something like that. And then Brett Payne went there straight out of high school 2007 till about 2011 for his undergrad. And then I think he went straight through with a master's degree, I think in psychology, criminology, like the same thing that Koberger studies. So a little bit of a pissing contest there, perhaps. Um, so they were both there at the university together at the same time. And then Kyle joined the army. Well, they both joined the army after graduating or at some point. I don't know exactly. But I know that Kyle went and did his first tour of duty um, in Iraq somewhere around 2010, give or take a year. And then Brett Payne did tour of duty in Iraq as well. And then Brent Kopaka, who graduated high school in 2005, joined the military straight out of high school when he was 18 and was deployed in Iraq many times. He finished up his last tour of duty in 2005, probably 2010. So the last 6 months of his last tour could have overlapped with Kyle Payne, perhaps, because they were both uh, parachute. I'm forgetting the name of it now. Um, they both would parachute into areas that were denied access. Paratroopers. So all three of them were paratroopers, actually. Kyle, Brett, and Brent. But Brett and Brent were both in the 84th Brigade, I think, 82nd Brigade, one of those, but different time frames. So they didn't overlap, but they both served the same capacity in the same brigade. And then Kyle Payne was in a different brigade, but the same capacity. So the chances of Brett Payne not knowing Brent Kopaka to me are very, very low, almost non-existent, especially when you throw in the fact that his brother was the same age and that they overlapped for 6 months in their time of service. So even if they didn't meet in those 6 months, then living in that area of Pullman, Moscow, I mean, these are small communities, and people in professions stick together, vets stick together, especially being the exact same paratrooper status. I would think that they would know each other. Hey, Chris Collins, welcome. Defense just submitted their 8th request for discovery. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Phantasmic Ether. And did everybody here catch Crime Circus did a drop at 9 o'clock this morning? Um, so yeah, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Um, let's see. Surveillance cameras and black boxes, you guys, and cell phone data. These are key in every case. So these are key in the Idaho 4 case. These are key in the Kylie Rodney case. And these are key in the Maui fires. Hawaii Real Estate just put out a new video last night of some of the original 911 calls that came in during the Maui fires. Absolutely devastating. And then while having that audio on, he's got the drone footage of the ruins after the fire. And those just aren't fire ruins, you guys. They're just not. In my opinion, those are something else. Look and see for yourself, see what your opinion is. But, the surveillance cameras all over Lahaina, black boxes from cars that would be destroyed, people's cell phones that they were unable to use because they didn't have signals, but they could get a text and they didn't get the text that said to evacuate. Um, but most importantly, the surveillance camera, the black box, and the cell phone. I wonder where those three pieces of evidence are in the Terry Jones non-investigation of her alleged self-harm. Terry Jones was the employee for the Maui Police Department for about 30 years that 2 months into the current chief Pelletier's tenure, 2 months in, she unalived in a bizarre car crash in a parking lot at 4:30 in the morning. I want to know about that black box in her car. I want to know about her cell phone data, and I want to know about surveillance cameras in that parking lot. Like, seriously, it is beyond fishy and bizarre that this very solid, stellar employee of the Maui PD has this ridiculous incident 2 months after Pelletier starts. It just doesn't sit right at all. And there should be surveillance cameras in most parking lots these days, right? Certainly the black box from her car could tell a lot. and so could cell phone data. But with if he had any connection to that, he's got all the ability to completely do whatever he wants with the investigation or lack thereof. So I just I don't believe that somebody could have a fatal single car crash at, I think they said 100 miles an hour. I think it was hitting a tree in a parking lot chasing this freaking purse thief. I mean, it sounds ludicrous. It sounds 100% ludicrous. And she was with her daughter. So, like, she was helping her daughter deliver newspapers, allegedly. That's the story anyway. So, where was her daughter and what did her daughter see? And again, if there was some foul play there, her daughter would be scared to death to step forward, right? Um, so the Idaho State Patrol trooper who took the sheath into evidence, you guys, I haven't Googled his name lately. Um, but he was the same state trooper that was involved in the fraudulent case against the chiropractic physician for unaliving a fellow chiropractic physician in Bonners Ferry a few years ago. This exact same state trooper that probably shouldn't be practicing in law enforcement, in my opinion, should certainly have been investigated for wrongfully convicting that doctor that has, that other, the deceased one, he his case is still unsolved. I'm gonna pull up a picture of him so that there's like a big billboard in Bonner Ferry. $10,000 reward, justice for Brian Drake. So let's see if you guys can see this. That's the chiropractor who was shot, and they tried to pin it on this other chiropractor. You can barely see it. Sorry, the glare is so bad. Um, anyway, I can try to put, oh, there we go. Yay, I did it. It's just that, see those ring lights, I don't like them. So Brian Drake was the chiropractor who was murdered. The Idaho State Patrol trooper that took the knife sheath into evidence, which that's just fishy right there. Like, why would the state trooper take the knife sheath into evidence when it's a Moscow PD case and Moscow PD is there? That makes no sense at all. Um, but yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up today, or before I open the floor more to stay focused on your comments, is the way these people in some of these cases like to keep their eye on the situation. They like to keep their thumb on the pulse. Sammy Smith, being at the center of the investigation, being like the point person so that she would know everything, so that any pictures or videos or stories that anybody had, she would be the first to find out about them. And then she would know how to delegate and what to do and who to threaten. Barrymore Few, uh, volunteering for the search for his missing wife with the fire department, that he also volunteered with that fire department. But still, that doesn't make sense. Like, if your family member is missing, it's sort of like doctors aren't allowed to, surgeons aren't allowed to perform surgeries on their own family members for good reason. Like, it's very different when you're personally involved and you're not going to be able to function the way you can function as a professional with others. So, if it's also fascinating to compare and contrast Barry Morphew trying to be right in the thick of the search, comparing that with Kylie Rodney's mom not wanting anything to do with the search, just leaving it up to them. Um, and again, for Barry Morphew, by volunteering, he's going to find out exactly what evidence or information might be had. He's also going to be able to hear suspicions and theories that people have. Um, but I'm going to take it back to Maui with Harpo showing up at the refugee headquarters with her freaking pillows. That's what that is to me. That's her wanting to see up close. To me, that's almost an admission of guilt. Like, that's just weird. There were a lot of other high profile people living there that did no such thing. So, um, to me, it's information. The fact that she showed up, the fact that she had her pillows, even the look on her face, like she just looked so blank. Like she didn't look compassionate. She didn't look sad. She didn't look horrified. She looked blank. So it's all information. It's all information to take in. Um, so yeah, comparing cases. It's always good to compare cases. Um, just looking over my notes here, making sure I got it all. I think I got it all. Anything you guys would like to say before we close? Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you so much. Let me do this. Sending you love and light. I'm not wrapping up yet, don't worry, but that's hard to do. Maybe, oh, there we go. That's much better. Much prettier heart. There we go. Please hit the like button. I haven't done any of my stuff. Please share, subscribe, ring your notification bell, hit that like button, do what Mark says. Everything I've said is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation. I like to try to open up a discussion, learn things, be educational. All my videos, this one as well, all made for YouTube, which is an entertainment platform. So thanks for being here. I don't want to quite sign off yet. It's just about an hour and 20 minutes, but that's kind of all the material that I wanted to cover. Um, you know me, I like to swim around in my cases, the Kylie Rodney case, the Idaho 4 case, the Maui case, the situation with Suzanne Morphew. Oh, that case is just so sad. So sad. These people that just have everything going for them, like Kylie, like the Idaho 4, like anybody who lives in Maui. I mean, what a great place to live, I'm sure, even though I've never been there. I can imagine. Um, Suzanne Morphew and Holly Bobo and Mo Wilson, all of these people have like everything in the world going for them and such bright futures. They need to wear sunglasses. And then to have their lives ripped away from them, to have all of the people around them that love them and care about them, to have that person ripped away from them. It's tragic beyond words. Compare how law enforcement handle thing on each case. Yeah, and I'm so skeptical. I used to really trust our system. I used to really trust law enforcement. I kind of like threw shade at people who didn't, honestly. I thought they were crazy conspiracy theorists. And then I got older and then I learned more. I mean, I've told you guys when I worked in the courts in Seattle in my Google fake imagination, the crap that I'd seen up close, firsthand. Firsthand. I had to sue them. I had to sue the King County Superior Court. That was like 2000 was when the lawsuit was filed, and it wasn't settled until 2004. Um, and I saw some shady crap. So shady that I hired a lawyer. So shady that I won a huge freaking settlement. That's how shady. So, um, and you just you see things and you like to believe in our system. I always say it's all we've got. Like we have to trust it as much as we possibly can. We have to utilize it as much as we possibly can because there's really no alternative. I mean, I'm certainly not about vigilante justice. I mean, we've most of us have probably seen the movie A Time to Kill, Morgan Freeman, an excellent movie. But no, in real life, you don't do that. You know why? Because the MF dirtbag is not worth it. These people that are just scum of the earth, whether it's the bullying, the antagonizing, or much worse, they're not worth your breath. They're not worth your time. And you're better than that. So rise above it, take the high road. I mean, that's what we try to do. And let me just say this, killing them with kindness is like the best thing you can do because that's real revenge. Like that tortures them. They don't know what the F to do with that, right? And those of you that have been through similar types of things, you know what I'm talking about. Killing them with kindness. It's the way to be a grown up, to rise above it, and to laugh your ass off when they're just completely befuddled and don't know what to do, right? Happy Monday. So, yeah, the way law enforcement handles or doesn't handle these things. I mean, all of these cases that I'm focused on, the ones that I'm hyper focused on, Kylie, Idaho 4, and Maui, man, some serious corruption going on. I mean, not even just sheer buffoonery, but they try to play it as sheer buffoonery. Or they try to pat themselves on the backs and say, "Oh, look what a great job are doing." Really? Sorry, one more sip. I don't mean to be rude by guzzling my coffee, but you know me and my coffee, it's my thing. It makes my day. And I see I have to finish it before noon, and it's 20 minutes to noon, so thank goodness I'm done. Now I can transition to my water. Um, did anyone lose their job over Uvalde out of all of the law enforcement of how many lost their jobs? Good question. I mean, we look at things like the Gabby Petito case and those police officers that interacted with her and Brian Laundrie on August 12th, 2 weeks before her demise. And I think every single one of those officers has been promoted. And that's just disgusting. I mean, even looking at the law enforcement in Florida when Mr. Laundrie slipped away, when they didn't notice. What about the law enforcement keeping an eye on Koberger in his apartment in Pullman, and then he slipped away when him and his dad left for um, Pennsylvania via Colorado, and they didn't know his whereabouts until his license plate showed up on a license plate reader in Colorado that just happened to be by the town where the owner of the 1122 King Road residence lived. Is that right? Is that accurate? Because what are the chances, people? What are the flippin' chances? What's going on here? Um, Coffee is my soulmate. Hey, batshit crazy. I have tried to give up caffeine a few times in my life. I'd say a handful of times, and it's just not a good idea. Never, ever going to do that to myself again, I hope, because every time I try it, it's just utter disaster. I think I shared with you guys the last time I tried it, I started smoking cigarettes. So I've never really been a smoker except that one time. So that was when I swore off, like I will never try to give up coffee again. Because then getting off of cigarettes is really rough. And I didn't even smoke them for that long, but that's some addictive substance. Insane in the Uvalde rescue crew. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, these people that do these heroic things, like walking into a live shooter situation, running into a fire, running up the stairs of the Twin Towers to get these fire victims out during a fire. Um, these are true heroes that go against, they defy logic, they go against their instinct. I mean, their instinct to help other people is stronger than their instinct to uh, preserve their own safety. And thank goodness for that. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal that there are so many everyday heroes out there. I'm sure there's so many in my chat right now, and so many that do all types of jobs, not just first responders, but all types of jobs. I mean, everything from being a teacher to being a custodial employee to any job that you do, just do it well. Like put your heart into it, and you're doing it for money, and hopefully you're doing it for, hopefully there's more to it than just money, because that's just not enough. If the only thing driving you is finances, you're going to have a very empty life, in my opinion. So whatever it is that you're doing, I mean, seriously, if you're flipping burgers, you're helping feed people. So, you know, enjoy that. Enjoy the fact that you're helping put hot food into people's mouths. But yeah, people in law enforcement that that shirk their responsibility, that don't want to, pound the pavement and do the investigation. In Kylie's case, when they were begging, and Mark's done such a great job lately of focusing on like Angela and her begging people to come forward, because out of these hundreds of people that were at this fake party, they can't seem to find any of them to talk to them. And, if people could just come talk to them. And that was the attitude with the Moscow PD and the Pullman PD with uh, different situations there. Man, you guys have to remember with the Moscow situation and that freaking coroner Mabbitt, she was the coroner on a homicide, a guy that died by gunshot. She was his coroner, and then she was his killer's defense attorney. And that guy got off with a minimum sentence. I think he's might have served 2 years out of a 15-year sentence. And then at the mark of what would have been the release time, the 15 years, I think, is when he stabbed himself and was threatening to stab his wife and her kids, or his kids. And this was all just like a week after the Idaho 4. Um, I haven't looked up his name in a while, but remember the guy that was stabbed that lived just like a mile or two away from the 1122 King Road residence? Um, that was the story with that guy. That Kathy Mabbitt was the coroner for the guy he killed, and then she was his defense attorney and got him like the lightest sentence imaginable in an intentional homicide, you guys. That's about as mind blowing as all this crap with Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robinson. I mean, Idaho is very, very strange, in my opinion. Okay. I get addicted to the coffee mocha drinks. Oh man, I can do a quadruple mocha easily. I could probably do a double quadruple mocha easily. Um, yeah, let's see. Hey, Harsh One, thanks for stopping in. We're just wrapping up. The teachers who put their bodies in front of their students, no words. As if teaching wasn't hard enough already. Give me an effing break. Yes. I've got teachers in my family. We know R is a teacher. I'm sure some of you are teachers. I did the substitute teaching for 1 year, or actually, I Googled how to pretend that you did a substitute teaching gig for 1 year. I'm going to have fun with that, you guys. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be negative. You can turn it into something positive. Um, so let's see. All right, people, I think that's about it. I think we're at the end of the road here. I love you so much. I'm always so happy to meet with my viewers. Um, oh, forgot to tell us that he's an astronaut. See, I always like the Seinfeld joke with George Costanza, Art Vandelay, his like alter ego that's the architect. Um, that's a good one. And rock star. Yes, me too. Me rock star. Me not astronaut, but me stand-up comedian. Yeah. And fake mental health expert. I mean, like I said, I don't consider myself an expert in anything, and I'm considered by the courts in Washington State, I'm considered an expert in PTSD. And I think that's nice and flattering, but I don't even think anybody can be an expert in PTSD because you have to have it to really know. And then if you have it, you're totally screwed up. So, and it's different for everybody and it's different all the time. It changes. That's what's so tricky about PTSD. And I know, Annie, you've shared that that's something that you've been suffering from. So, um, hi, Fred. Bye, Fred. Hey, Fred. Oh, look at you. You just got here, or were you here earlier? And I missed it. So, should we do our have a nice day part where you guys are instructed by me on my soapbox to eat your vegetables, eat your meat, get your exercise, do everything right? What else? Relax. Be nice. Damn it. And yeah, that's about it. So, you guys, I said half an hour ago too. I'm sorry, Fred. I was not looking at the chat today the way I normally am. You know, I've told you I always feel like I'm kind of out of sync on Mondays because I skipped 2 whole days without doing a video, and I was going to try to do a video over the weekend, but it's just too hard. So that's what I have to live with. And I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here. Again, hit that like button if you haven't already. Share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. And love the lives and the videos. Out till next time. I'm nice after coffee. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to see me without coffee. That's for sure. I don't want to see me without coffee. So all right, you guys, drink your water. I forgot to order you to drink your water. And remember, all these things that I try to remind people of at the end of each video, I'm only doing it because I care and because I need to be reminded. So it cracks me up how I forget the simplest things all the time, like eating my vegetables, eating my protein. I mean, I don't usually forget about the protein, but I honestly do sometimes forget about my veggies. But I try to just eat a lot of carrots and celery and broccoli, tomatoes. You know, I kind of go for the easy stuff because I just think as long as I'm getting my veggies, kale is really good if you prepare it right. Oh, especially kale after the first frost, you guys. That's my hot tip for the day. If you've never tried kale after the first frost, try it this year after the first frost. It is phenomenal. It's totally different than the other stuff. So, peace out. Drink your water and eat something good for you. Absolutely. And just surround yourself with good people and tell everyone else to screw themselves. Right? All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again. Light and love.